Okay, so imagine this. You've been job hunting for a while, right? Scrolling endlessly. And then bam, there it is. The perfect role. It's remote, the hours look great, the pay is, wow, incredible. Maybe there's even like a sign-on bonus. It feels amazing, like you finally hit the jackpot. So you click, you apply, and maybe almost too quickly you get an offer. Your heart's pounding. This is it. But what if that perfect offer, that dream job, isn't real? What if it's actually a really sophisticated trap? Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are jumping headfirst into the, well, frankly, the murky waters of online and remote job scams. And these aren't just about losing a bit of money. As we're going to uncover, the consequences can run really deep personally, far beyond your bank balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And our mission today is pretty straightforward, really. We want to equip you, our listener, with the knowledge you absolutely need. How to spot these scams, how to avoid them, and crucially, how to understand the full impact these schemes can have. We'll show you how to see through those too good to be true offers and fundamentally how to protect yourself.
And just so you know where this is coming from, all the insights we're sharing today are drawn from a whole range of sources: cybersecurity reports, consumer protection advice, detailed industry analysis. We've basically distilled it all for this deep dive.
Hmm.
So let's start there. What's the landscape actually look like? What are we really up against with these online job scams today?
Well, the first thing to get your head around is just how common they are and honestly how sophisticated they've become, especially with, the huge shift towards remote work globally. Scammers aren't just sending basic spam now. They're actively posing as legitimate employers. Sometimes they impersonate real companies, real recruiters, and they do it with alarming accuracy.
Okay, sophistication. Are we talking AI, writing job ads, fake video interviews? What makes them so much harder to spot now?
That's exactly it. They're using modern tools, definitely including artificial intelligence, to create these incredibly convincing job listings. They build fake websites that look real, communications that sound like they're straight from HR. Seriously, these aren't just amateurs messing around. These are often well-funded, well-planned operations. They're designed specifically to prey on your hopes, your need for a new opportunity. And their goals fundamentally are usually one of two things, or sometimes both. They want your personally identifiable information, PII, social security numbers, bank details, that kind of thing, or they just want to trick you into sending them money directly.
Okay, so if they're that good, how do they first hook you in? What are those initial lures that seem, well, believable?
Often it starts with job offers that on the surface seem pretty reasonable. Maybe easy online tasks like rating products or translating short texts, things that seem credible initially. They might even let you earn a small amount at first, just to build that trust. But then, pretty quickly, the script flips. Suddenly, you need to make larger and larger investments of your own money to, unlock higher pay or get more tasks.
Wow. So they're really playing on that desire for flexibility, good pay, and using tech like AI plus these psychological tricks. How do they usually communicate early on?
Well, this is where it gets interesting, how they build trust. They often prefer platforms like WhatsApp or Telegram for communication. It feels more personal, right? Less formal than official email. They might spin up fake websites or these slick-looking dashboards that mimic real company systems. And here's a huge red flag, often right at the beginning. Requests for payment. They'll ask for money for training or special equipment, maybe visa processing. Our sources are crystal clear on this. Legitimate employers do not ask applicants to pay for training or equipment or background checks before you're actually hired. That's just a fundamental rule. Never pay to get a job.
That's such a critical point. Okay, so we know the lures, the tech they use. What's the typical playbook then? How do these scams actually unfold step by step?
Well, a very common starting point is fake job postings. You'll see them on major job boards, sometimes social media. Now, historically, you might spot bad grammar, spelling errors, maybe promises of crazy high salaries for no work. But honestly, with AI getting better, even those obvious errors are becoming less common. The listings can look very professional.
And it's not just postings, right? There's the whole phishing angle too.
Oh, absolutely. Phishing is a huge part of it. You might get emails or messages that look like they're from a real company or maybe when you apply to, they'll ask for personal info, maybe direct you to pay something. And crucially, they often contain links to fake websites designed purely to steal your login details, your bank info, whatever they can get. It's a classic scam, just wrapped up in a job offer context. And like we mentioned, that upfront payment request keeps coming up. It really bears repeating. Any demand for money, training, equipment, application fees, anything that is a massive flashing red flag.
Yeah.
Real employers don't do that. Scammers ask for these fees, promising reimbursement sometimes, but of course the money's just gone.
I've also heard about these fake interviews. How do those usually work? Is it just text messages?
Yeah, that's a very common tactic.
Hmm.
They'll often conduct the entire interview process purely through text chat, maybe WhatsApp, Telegram, something like that. They actively avoid video calls or even phone calls. That anonymity obviously helps them keep up the facade. They'll use fake company names, sometimes domains that look similar to real ones. It's all about building that appearance of legitimacy while staying hidden.
Okay, understanding the general method is one thing, but the specific scam models, that's where you see the real cunning. It's not just one fake ad, they have entire systems built. It's like a business operation almost. Let's really dive into some of the most common types people run into because yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
Exactly. So one of the classics is the fake check scam. It's been around, but it still catches people. Here's how it works. The scammer sends you a check, usually a cashier's check, maybe for setting up a home office or as an advance. It's often for more than they initially said. You deposit it, then they tell you, oh, we overpaid. Can you wire back the extra amount? Or maybe use part of it to buy gift cards for supplies and send us the codes. You do that because the check looks real, and the funds might even initially appear in your account. But then days or even weeks later, the bank discovers the check is counterfeit. It bounces. And the kicker is you are now liable to the bank for the entire amount of the fake check, plus any money you sent the scammer. It's financially devastating.
Wow, that's brutal. And what about the newer scams using things like crypto? They seem to be everywhere now.
Oh, definitely. Those are hugely prevalent and, yeah, they're evolving fast. These cryptocurrency job scams often involve recruiting people for vague online roles. Things like task optimization or boosting platform visibility. Sounds techy, maybe important. They might even let you withdraw small amounts of earnings early on. This is key. It builds immense trust, makes you think it's legit. But then, the catch. You need to start depositing your own money, almost always crypto, into their platform to unlock more tasks or higher earning levels. Eventually, you hit a point where they demand a huge deposit you can't afford, or they just lock your account. All the money you put in, plus any fake earnings, vanishes. The FBI has been really clear on this. No legitimate job requires you to invest your own money to do the work, period.
Such a critical rule to burn into your brain.
Yeah.
Okay, what about scams that don't just cost you money but could actually land you in legal trouble? That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, those are the reshipping scams, sometimes called parcel forwarding. Victims get hired, usually working from home, simply to receive packages and then reship them to another address, often overseas. Seems easy enough, right? The problem is, those packages almost always contain merchandise bought with stolen credit cards. So, without realizing it, the victim becomes a mule, a middleman in fencing stolen goods. This makes you complicit in a crime. You could face legal consequences, police showing up at your door. It turns your life upside down, and you thought you just had a simple work-from-home job.
That's a nightmare. And then there are those ones that seem almost too simple, the task-based scams, like clicking links or rating things.
Yes, and these are incredibly deceptive because they seem so harmless at first. You're asked to really simple online tasks like videos on social media, rate photos, maybe boost app rankings. You see your earnings rack up really fast on some fake dashboard they provide. It feels great, like you're making easy money. But then comes the twist. To actually withdraw that money or to get access to more tasks, you have to deposit your own funds, usually crypto again. They promise huge returns, maybe hundreds or even over $1,000 a day for minimal effort. But it's all fake. The earnings aren't real, and any money you deposit is just gone, lost.
And finally, one that's maybe less online job specific, but often gets tangled up in work from home promises. MLMs and pyramid schemes.
Right. Multi-level marketing. Now, some MLMs are legitimate businesses, but many operate as illegal pyramid schemes. The key difference is whether the money comes primarily from selling actual products to real customers or from recruiting more and more people into the scheme. In a pyramid scheme, the focus is recruitment. Participants often have to buy huge amounts of inventory they can't sell or pay really high upfront fees just to qualify for commissions that mostly come from signing up others. Most people end up losing money.
Looking at all these models together, you really see the pattern. They build false trust, create urgency, exploit that hope for easy money or a good job. It's a calculated system designed to bypass your normal caution. Okay, so knowing all this, let's equip you, the listener, with a sort of red flag system, your personal warning signs.
Exactly. We've pulled together the most common indicators from all our sources. Think of this as your essential checklist when evaluating any remote job offer.
All right, first category, unrealistic promises. What should immediately set off alarm bells here?
Basically, anything that sounds way too good to be true. Offers of incredibly high income for very little work or experience. Earn $100 an hour, no experience needed, or unlimited earning potential with just a few clicks. Legitimate employers just don't operate like that. They need relevant skills. They expect real work for fair pay, sky-high salaries without justification. Huge red flag.
Makes sense. What about poor communication and unprofessionalism? This seems like it should be obvious, but maybe not always.
You'd think so, but sometimes people overlook it. Poor grammar, lots of spelling mistakes, really awkward phrasing in job posts or emails that can be a sign. Sometimes it's even intentional, a way to filter out more careful people. Also, really pay attention to how they communicate. Insisting on using WhatsApp, Telegram, or other informal messaging apps instead of official company email or proper video calls like Zoom or Teams, that's suspicious. Using personal email addresses like Gmail, Hotmail instead of a proper company domain like at companyname.com, another red flag. And finally, if the job description itself is super vague, lacks specific duties, doesn't really say what you'll be doing, be wary.
Okay, and then the big one we keep coming back to, financial requests.
Cannot stress this enough. Any demand for money from you is almost certainly a scam. Doesn't matter if they call it a fee for training or equipment or an application processing fee. Legitimate employers never, ever ask you to pay to get a job. Also, be super cautious about requests for sensitive personal information very early on. Things like your social security number, bank account details, credit card number. Real employers only need that stuff after they've formally offered you the job and you're going through the official onboarding process. And remember that statistic, 80% of job scam victims said the scammer contacted them first, usually through job sites or social media. That unsolicited approach itself should make you extra cautious.
That 80% figure is really stark.
Okay, so let's say they've managed to hook you. What about the actual hiring process, or lack thereof? Yeah, look out for this. Getting a job offer immediately with no real interview, or maybe after just a super brief, disorganized chat. That's highly suspicious. Real hiring takes time. And, as we mentioned, if the only interviews are done solely via text chat, WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook Messenger, that's another massive warning sign. Legitimate companies want to talk to you, often see you, through professional channels.
Right. And lastly, this category covers a lot of the initial deception, unsolicited contact and fake company presence.
Exactly. If someone contacts you out of the blue about a job you never applied for, especially if it's via social media DM or a text message, be skeptical. Do your homework. Scammers are really good at creating fake websites that look legit. Always double-check the URL, the web address. Look for HTTPS. That S means secure. It's a basic security layer real sites have. Does the site look professional? Are there contact details? Beware of high-pressure tactics. Scammers often try to rush you, saying the opportunity will disappear if you don't accept right away or pay immediately. And a final critical point. Any request to be paid or to pay them using gift cards, wire transfers, or cryptocurrency is almost certainly a scam. Those payment methods are basically irreversible and untraceable, which is exactly why scammers love them.
So we've got all these specific technical red flags, but our sources also highlight something simpler, maybe more primal, your gut feeling.
Yes, absolutely. After all the checks, trust your instincts. If something just feels off, even if you can't quite put your finger on why, maybe the recruiter is overly friendly, maybe the story's inconsistent, maybe it just seems too easy, step back, disengage, investigate further on your own. Your intuition is often your very first line of defense. Don't ignore that feeling.
It's fascinating how consistent these red flags are across all these different scam types. It really does feel like they're working from a shared playbook, doesn't it?
It really does. And it's because they're tapping into universal human vulnerabilities, right? That desire for financial security, the hope for a better life, the appeal of quick success. They know how to trigger those feelings. And at the same time, they're actively working to bypass the normal checks and balances, the vetting processes that would usually expose them. They build that false sense of trust or that intense urgency, making it harder to see the red flags when you're kind of emotionally caught up in the moment.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly now to something that often gets overlooked, the hidden cost. We've talked a lot about the financial loss, but our sources really emphasize a much deeper impact. It's a profound blow to well-being, to trust.
Exactly. Beyond the money, these online job scams inflict significant psychological harm. We're talking about serious emotional distress, deep feelings of shame, and potential long-term mental health issues. It's not just about the financial hit, it's about the emotional wreckage that can stay with someone long after their bank account recovers, if it even does.
Can you elaborate on some of those specific psychological impacts? What do victims typically go through?
Well, commonly, victims report intense emotional distress anxiety, high levels of stress, depression, sometimes just complete emotional exhaustion. But what's particularly insidious is the shame. Victims often feel incredibly embarrassed, blaming themselves, thinking, how could I have been so stupid? They feel personally responsible, even though they were targeted by professionals using sophisticated manipulation tactics. This wasn't their fault. This experience often leads to a significant loss of trust, trust in potential employers, trust in online platforms, sometimes even trust in their own judgment or in other people.
And I imagine for some, especially if they felt they built a connection, it's even worse.
Absolutely. If a victim formed any kind of emotional connection with the scammer, maybe through ongoing chats, they can experience what's called betrayal trauma. That can be incredibly damaging. All of this often leads to social isolation. Victims might withdraw because they're afraid of being judged, or maybe it's just too painful to recount the experience, and of course it can severely impact self-esteem, leaving a lingering sense of personal failure. But understanding this is key. Recognizing that falling victim isn't a reflection of your intelligence or worth is such a critical step, both for recovery and for future prevention. These scams work because they exploit fundamental human hopes and vulnerabilities. That's why the psychological toll is so severe. And sadly, many victims never report this scam. They don't seek professional help, often because of that fear of judgment or stigma. But experts really stress victims are not at fault. Scammers are skilled manipulators. Our sources strongly recommend talking to a trained therapist if you've been through this to process the trauma safely.
Wow. This has been a really sobering, but I think incredibly necessary deep dive into these online job scams. We've seen just how sophisticated they are, how prevalent, and how they're constantly adapting, especially to our remote world.
But hopefully, by understanding their tactics and knowing these red flags, you feel much better equipped to protect yourself now. Just remember that core advice. Verify offers through official company channels. Never share sensitive personal or financial info early on. Be extremely skeptical if anyone asks you to pay them for a job. And please, report suspicious activity. Use resources like cybercrime.gov.in or your local equivalent. Reporting helps authorities track these scams and potentially prevent others from becoming victims.
You are definitely armed with crucial knowledge now. And as we wrap up, here's something to mull over. Given the really profound psychological impact we've discussed and the sheer sophistication of these scams, how should we maybe rethink what due diligence even means in today's digital job market? And what responsibility do the job platforms and even employers themselves have in preventing this kind of harm? Thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive. Stay vigilant out there, stay safe, and keep exploring.